It is time for another 1-minute market update where we talk about the two things that you should care about most as a homeowner. How much is my home worth today compared to what it was yesterday, and how long would it take to sell in today's market? We are in May now, so we are looking at stats from last month in April. This month saw a little bit of a turnaround in detached homes. That was a little bit unexpected, and not necessarily in pricing, but just in number of sales. Sales, by and large, are still well below 10-year averages, about 22-23% below 10-year averages. So it's not like a dramatic change, but detached homes anyway seem to be recovering a little bit. I'm not saying that they've reached the bottom or anything like that, but there's a little bit of life in them. Now, why that seems to be happening is people are just taking advantage of the market. So if you're in a townhome right now, the gap to get up to a detached home is less now because all of the prices have come down for everything across the board. So yes, your townhome is worth less, but proportionately the house that you're trying to buy, that detached house, because it's worth more, dollars wise, it works out. That dollar gap has shrunk. So it makes sense as long as your income is there to support the extra mortgage or the extra loan, as long as you're in a good equity position on the home that you currently own. That's why the detached homes are likely sort of leading, well, I'm not gonna call it a recovery, but whatever it is that we're seeing right now, that's why detached homes are seeing it first. I got a very good question on the last market update video. I'm gonna answer that at the end, so make sure you stick around for that. Let's start off, as always, with detached homes in Burnaby, looking at the HPI price. You are down 1.2% from last month and down 10.6% from last year. That equates to a monthly loss of about $19,000 over the last 12 months. New West, you are down 2.1% from last month and down 10.4% from last year for a monthly loss of just about $14,000. Coquitlam, you're actually up a little bit, 0.7% from last month, but still down 7.7% from last year for a monthly loss of about $11,000. Port Moody, you are down 2% from last month and down 5.4% from this time last year for a monthly loss of about $9,000. Pardon the interruption. Apparently, in my excitement to give you the stats for last month, I forgot to read out the Port Coquitlam detached housing stat numbers. So here they are. Port Coquitlam, you are down 1.8% from last month and down 5.7% from last year for a month-over-month loss of value of about $6,600. Now, back to your regularly scheduled programming. Maple Ridge, you are up 0.6% from last month, but still down 5.6% from last year for a monthly loss of about $6,000. Pitt Meadows, you are down 1.9% from last month and down 5.8% from last year for a monthly loss of $6,200. Now, of course, when we're talking about monthly losses, that's in estimated value, and it's an average, so don't come at me and say, well, oh, my home's different, I haven't lost 18,000. I don't want to hear any of that. It is an average, and the reason that we talk about it in these terms is that when we're talking about percentages, that's not really real for a lot of people, but dollars are. And there's a lot of people right now who are waiting to sell their homes or to possibly buy a home. Now, the reason that looking at this number is important is because if you're waiting and you don't have an actual plan in place, right now, waiting is costing you real dollars. That's what I'm talking about here. So every month, on average, your home is going down in value for every month that you wait. So if you are thinking about making a move and you want to have an actual plan in front of you rather than just doing what everyone else is trying to do and waiting or hoping that things get better or whatever else you're doing, there is a link down in the description below. You can click on it and book a time to chat with us. We will talk to you about your situation and help you put together an actual game plan, a strategy to make your real estate plans happen rather than just, I don't know, crossing your fingers and hoping that things work out. Okay, jumping into townhomes now. Burnaby, you are up 2% from last month, still down 2.2% from last year, but that's actually looking pretty good, relatively speaking. That equates to a monthly loss of about $1,700 of value. New West, you are down 0.9% from last month and down 5.2% from last month for a monthly loss of value of $4,000. Coquitlam, you are up 0.1% from last month and down 6% from last year for a monthly loss of about $5,300. Port Moody, you are net neutral with last month, but still down 5.6% from last year for a monthly loss of value of about $4,700. Port Coquitlam, you are down 0.6% from last month and down 5.8% from last year for a monthly loss of value of about $4,600. Maple Ridge, you are down 1.1% from last month and down 8.1% from last year for a monthly loss of value of $5,300. And finally, Pitt Meadows, you are down 1.3% from last month and down 6.3% from last year for a monthly loss of value of $4,300. All right, on to condos now. Now, I'm going to take a special moment to talk about pre-sales or brand new buildings in general. Developers, for the most part, are really hurting right now. They are sitting on a ton of inventory, and this is largely because a lot of the investor market has basically just dried up, which was the typical purchaser for a pre-sale condo. Now, if you're a potential home buyer, a good thing to take a look at is move-in ready homes that are brand new. The reason that I'm saying this is because a lot of these developers need to get rid of inventory so that they can either pay back financing or move on to other projects or what have you. Okay, let's move on to condos now, and I want to take a quick moment to talk about a particular part of the market that is interesting, especially if you are a potential home buyer. Now, that part of the market is pre-sales, but specifically move-in ready pre-sales. On average, developers right now are sitting on a ton of unsold inventory and they're having a lot of trouble selling it. So a lot of them are putting together really good incentives, or frankly, just really good pricing to get the rest of their units sold. So if you're a prospective home buyer, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, which means you would probably qualify for the GST exemption and the property transfer tax exemption. Kind of like what I talked about earlier, the gap between townhomes and detached homes has shrunk. Well, right now we're seeing the same thing with condos. The gap between resale condos or condos that have already been built and pre-sale condos or brand new ones usually is actually pretty big. But right now that gap has shrunk substantially. So if you're in a situation where you are possibly thinking about buying something and you have the budget to look at buying something new, now is a great time to do it. Not every deal is going to be spectacular, but there are a lot of good ones out there. If that sounds like you and you want, again, a strategy or a little bit more of a plan behind your purchase, click the link below, book a time to chat with us. We'll discuss all of this with you and give you a solid plan so that you know you can go and buy with confidence rather than just shooting in the dark and trying to make something happen. Anyway, on to the stats now. So starting off with Burnaby, you are up 0.1% from last month, but still down 7.8% from last year, with a monthly loss of value of about $5,000. New West, you're up 0.6% from last month, but still down 8.7% from last year for a monthly loss of value of about $4,700. Coquitlam, you're down 0.6% from last month and down 8.5% from last year for a monthly loss of value of about $5,100. Port Moody, you are up 0.2% from last month, but still down 4.1% from last year for a monthly loss of value of about $2,500. Port Coquitlam, you are down 2.8% from last month and down 8.8% from last year for a monthly loss of value of about $4,600. Maple Ridge, you are down 1.9% from last month and down 8.6% from last year for a monthly loss of value of about $4,000. And finally, Pitt Meadows, you are down 2.4% from last month and down 8.8% from last year for a monthly loss of value of $4,400. All right, on to the last section now, which is days on market. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I got a good question on last month's market update. And the question was basically, I see lots of homes that are for sale and they're sitting for 100+ days. how is it that the average days on market can be, 20 days, 25 days, 30 days? Because I see so many of them where they're sitting for months and months and months. That's a very, very good question. And honestly, you're right. There are tons of homes that are sitting for many, many, many days. This is a bit of a gap in the data that we have, because the days on market are only reported when a home actually sells. On top of that, most of the time what happens is if a home is sitting for months and months and months, they'll actually end up relisting that home. So they reset the counter to 0. So unfortunately, yes, the data is maybe a little bit misleading because there are lots of listings that are sitting, but we work with the data that we have, and unfortunately, this is the best we got. Now, the other thing to consider here is that a lot of those homes that are sitting for months and months and months are probably just overpriced. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. There's two things that sell a home. It's price and it's marketing, and you have to have a good mix of both to have a successful sale. If you overprice something, well, it will just sit, because people aren't stupid and they see the data. They know what's happening in the market right now. People aren't just going to overpay for something just because. So a good way to look at these numbers is that the average days on market is a good indicator for how quickly your home will sell if it's priced properly. And to that end, let's jump into the numbers. So Burnaby, you are up a little bit from last month, sitting at 23 days on market. New West, you're up, sitting at 24 days on market. Coquitlam, you're up as well, sitting at 18 days on market. Port Moody, you're down a fair bit, sitting at 17 days on market. Port Coquitlam, you're up as well, sitting at 23 days on market. Maple Ridge, you're down just a little bit, sitting at 21 days on market. And Pitt Meadows, you're up a fair bit, sitting at 18 days on market. I'm Angelo with the Atlas Group. That is enough numbers for today. If you found this helpful, please do me a favor, share it with somebody who might also find it helpful, somebody who owns a home or somebody who is considering purchasing a home, because of course, when you are purchasing a home, it pays to be well informed and smart so that you can make smart decisions. I'll see you in the next one.